Quite a few scenes that is starting to come out from this weekend of festivities, I should say. They got a chance to practice, to play, and give us a little glimpse at possibly, potentially Team USA for the two.
The moment the ball touched her hands, the gym stopped being a practice and turned into a pressure chamber, because everyone inside instantly understood that this wasn't a drill anymore, it was a reckoning. Day 3 of Team USA camp didn't feel like basketball, it felt like endurance. Because the footage doesn't show injuries, it doesn't show coaches blowing whistles, and it doesn't show anyone getting benched. It shows players quietly stepping away from the run because Caitlin Clark made the atmosphere unbearable through pure dominance. The kind that doesn't scream but suffocates. The kind that doesn't taunt but exposes. The kind that forces professionals to confront a reality they weren't ready for. And from the very first possession you can feel it. No warm-up laughter, no casual chatter, no playful energy, just tight shoulders, locked jaws, and eyes tracking her every move because everyone knows this isn't a comeback tour anymore. This is confrontation. This is evaluation. This is survival. And the coaches sense it too, which is why they let the run stretch longer than usual. Because this isn't about managing reps, this is about discovering who can function when the room tilts against them. And the second Caitlin steps back, way back, past comfort, past convention, past what most players even consider reasonable, the shot leaves her hands with zero hesitation and snaps the net clean, no celebration, no reaction. Because nobody in that gym thinks it's luck, they think it's a warning. And when she does it again from the same logo range with the same calm release and the same result, the bench doesn't erupt, it shuts down. Because repetition removes doubt. And now, frustration replaces disbelief. Heads shake not in awe but in irritation. Because this version of Caitlin looks fully healthy, fully sharp, fully in control. Not like last year when people argued percentages and timelines and recovery windows. But like someone who knows exactly what her body can do and is daring everyone else to catch up. Her passing is crisp, surgical, exactly what you expect from her. But what stands out isn't just the execution, it's the authority. Because she isn't just scoring, she's controlling the room. The tempo spikes when she wants chaos, slows when she wants discomfort, then explodes again without warning, and defenders press higher thinking aggression will disrupt her rhythm. But she welcomes it, invites it, because pressure only shortens the space she needs. 1 hard dribble, 1 clean step back, another logo 3, and this time you feel the shift. Because it stops being about making shots and starts being about sending messages, every possession becoming a reminder of the past. The doubts, the debates, the stretches where she was questioned, benched, or spoken about like a problem rather than a solution. The injuries dissected louder than the performances, the silence that followed her delivery, and now that silence is gone, replaced by tension thick enough to feel on camera. And that's when Angel Reese checks in harder, more physical, determined to slow the momentum, not out of disrespect but urgency. Because this feels like a stand, a line being drawn in real time. She battles inside, calls for the ball, tries to grind the pace down, but Caitlin sees it early, rotates before the lane even opens, forces the reset while the shot clock bleeds, and when the ball comes back to her hands, there's no rush at all, just another deep pull from the logo, another clean swish, and the gym exhales like it's been holding its breath too long. Someone muttering that this is getting uncomfortable. Because uncomfortable is exactly what it is when someone stops playing for approval and starts playing like the space already belongs to them. And as the next run begins with the same result, something subtle but devastating happens. Teammates stop demanding the ball, eyes drop, energy drains, not officially leaving the floor but mentally checking out. Because the pressure is louder than the instructions now. Whispers start, frustration leaks, egos collide with reality. And this is where the story flips from highlights to consequences. Because Angel stands her ground, voice raised, motion sharp, not challenging Caitlin personally but challenging the moment itself. Because the message is clear even if it isn't spoken, either the game changes or someone leaves this run exposed. And the coaches don't step in, they don't stop it. Because this is the evaluation, this is the purpose of camp. Not to crown favorites or confirm marketing narratives, but to find out who can function when the environment tilts violently, and the truth becomes unavoidable. This isn't about choosing between Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers. It's about imagining what happens when they share the floor. Because if you're actually hoping for Team USA to win, that combination isn't optional, it's essential. And as defenders shade the wrong direction one more time and Caitlin punishes it with another logo 3, that's when someone finally steps off the floor, not hurt, just overwhelmed, followed by another, and another, the gym somehow feeling lighter and heavier at once, and Caitlin doesn't react, doesn't glance, doesn't smirk, she just keeps shooting. Because this is what real dominance looks like, not loud, not arrogant, just inevitable, stripping away protection from MVP titles, star labels, and marketing narratives, leaving only production as the standard, and by the time the footage cuts, not because practice ended but because the energy couldn't be hidden anymore, it's clear that day 3 didn't just prove she's back, it proved something deeper, that you can question her, slow her, debate her, but when the doors close and the lights stay on, Caitlin Clark doesn't leave the gym. Everyone else does. What the camera didn't capture clearly enough was the sound of confidence breaking. Because dominance like this doesn't just score points, it rewrites hierarchy in real time. After the first wave of players quietly drifted away from the run, the gym didn't reset, it tightened. Because everyone left standing understood that what was happening wasn't about fatigue or missed shots, it was about identity. About realizing that the version of yourself you believed in might not survive in this environment anymore. And that's the part that makes this footage unsettling. Because nobody is yelling, nobody is collapsing, nobody is being humiliated outwardly. Yet internally the shift is violent, the kind that makes seasoned professionals question their rhythm, their role, their relevance. Because Caitlin isn't reacting to anyone, she isn't chasing approval from coaches or validation from teammates. She's operating on a different timeline altogether, one where the possession begins and ends on her terms, where spacing becomes a suggestion rather than a rule, and where defenders aren't obstacles so much as signals, and you can see it in the body language. How players start arriving half a step late, not because they're slow but because they're guessing wrong, guessing again. Because when someone controls pace the way she does, the game stops being reactive and starts being predictive. And only one person in that gym is writing the script. And that's when frustration leaks out in subtle ways, rushed shots that weren't there a minute ago, forced passes that scream impatience, hands thrown up after miscommunications that didn't exist before. Because pressure doesn't always crush you directly. Sometimes it convinces you to betray your own habits. And Caitlin feeds on that. Not emotionally, not visibly, but structurally. Because every mistake widens the gap between calm and chaos, and she lives on the calm side of it. And as the run stretches on, the realization sets in that this isn't about outplaying her for a possession or two, it's about enduring her presence for an entire session, because she doesn't cool off, she doesn't drift, she doesn't give you those mercy stretches where you can breathe and recenter, she keeps the same expression, the same cadence, the same ruthless patience, and that's what drains people, not the shots themselves but the certainty behind them, the way she relocates knowing the ball will find her, the way she releases knowing the contest doesn't matter, the way she turns up the volume without raising her voice. And this is where narratives start collapsing. Because players who were framed as future cornerstones suddenly look rushed, players sold as fearless start hesitating, and players expected to lead start deferring. Not because they're incapable, but because the room has shifted its center of gravity, and everything now bends toward her. And the hardest part to accept is that she isn't taking anything from them directly, she's just revealing what survives under pressure and what doesn't, and that's why the exits keep happening quietly, one player stepping out of the drill, another adjusting shoes a little too long, another drifting toward the sideline pretending to listen for instructions that aren't coming, because sometimes leaving is easier than being measured in real time. And the coaches let it continue because this is the information they can't get from film or stats. Who stays present when the run turns hostile? Who still communicates? Who still cuts hard? Who still defends with purpose when the scoreboard doesn't favor them? And Caitlin remains constant through all of it, not demanding the ball, not calling out teammates, just operating, possession after possession, turning the gym into a mirror. And mirrors are cruel when you're not ready for the reflection. Because by now it's obvious this isn't about revenge or statements or silencing critics, it's about alignment, about someone finally playing in a space that matches their internal standard, and when that happens, everyone else has to adjust upward or fall away, and many choose the latter, not out of weakness but self-preservation, because staying in that run means accepting that today, right now, you are not the axis, And that realization hits harder than any physical contact. And by the time the final sequence unfolds, with the same deep pull, the same calm release, the same net snapping like punctuation at the end of a sentence, the gym feels exposed, like a truth has been dragged into the light that can't be tucked back into slogans or marketing lines. And the reason this footage resonates isn't because someone dominated a practice, it's because dominance happened without theatrics, without commentary, without permission. And everyone watching can sense it, that this wasn't just a good day or a hot streak, it was a recalibration, a reminder that when the environment gets uncomfortable enough, only a few people stop trying to survive it and start shaping it. And Caitlin didn't raise her voice, didn't stare anyone down, didn't celebrate a single shot, because she didn't need to. The space adjusted around her, and when that happens, when the gym bends instead of the player, the message is already delivered, long before anyone dares to say it out loud. By the time the doors closed and the cameras stopped rolling, the truth was already sealed, because what happened in that gym wasn't about who made shots, it was about who could exist once the balance of power snapped. What people keep missing when they talk about that day is that this wasn't chaos, it was clarity, the kind that only shows up when pressure strips everything artificial away. Because inside that sealed gym the hierarchy didn't change through speeches or rotations or depth charts, it changed through inevitability. And Caitlin Clark didn't force that inevitability with emotion or confrontation, she forced it by refusing to bend. Possession after possession, rep after rep, turning what was supposed to be a collective evaluation into a silent referendum on readiness. And that's why the exits mattered more than the shots. Because leaving a drill at this level isn't about fatigue, it's about recognition. Recognition that the margin you thought protected you is gone, that the safety net of reputation doesn't catch you when tempo accelerates beyond comfort. And as the session dragged forward, the realization spread that this wasn't something you could wait out. Because she wasn't going to cool off, she wasn't going to regress to the mean, she wasn't going to give the gym a reset moment where confidence could be rebuilt. She stayed exact, and exactness under pressure is the most destabilizing force in basketball, because it doesn't allow excuses to breathe, and you could see it in how defenders stopped communicating cleanly, how switches came late, how help hesitated just long enough to be useless, not because they didn't know what to do, but because knowing what to do and executing it against someone who never speeds up internally are two very different battles. And this is where the mythology around camp competition collapses, because competition implies exchange, back and forth, momentum swings. But what happened here was compression, everything narrowing toward a single standard, and anyone who couldn't operate inside that standard felt it immediately, not as humiliation but as exhaustion, the kind that comes from chasing control you don't have. And the coaches understood this, which is why there were no interruptions, no resets, no whistles to save anyone from the moment, because this is the purpose of these closed-door runs, to find out who remains functional when the environment becomes unforgiving. And Caitlin didn't just remain functional, she became gravitational, pulling possessions, attention, and outcomes toward her without demanding them, and that's the detail that makes this footage linger, because dominance usually announces itself loudly, through emotion or flair or visible intensity, but this dominance was quiet, procedural, relentless, the kind that makes people second-guess themselves rather than challenge you. And by the later stages of the run, the gym had shifted from resistance to resignation, not in defeat but in understanding, because the conversation was no longer about stopping her, it was about surviving alongside her, about figuring out how to contribute when the axis has moved. And that's a harder adjustment than defense, because it requires ego recalibration, and not everyone can do that in real time, especially when careers, contracts, and futures are layered into every possession. And this is where the broader meaning locks in. Because this wasn't about crowning a star or feeding a narrative, it was about exposing the gap between production and perception, between who we talk about and who actually bends games. And when the final sequence played out, the same deep pull, the same unbothered release,